but having close relationships and being able to talk about different things that are going on, support them, allow them to support me. And that's another thing that's sometimes hard for men, to allow other people to offer them help and guidance. But those are the two pillars.
Ladies and gentlemen, scale on out. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Start, Scale, Exit, the podcast where SaaS leaders and founders share with you their stories, successes, and experiences so that you can learn from their successes, from their mistakes, and grow your own SaaS companies. In this case, we have a very, very, very great guest, Nick Manzek. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ivan. Excited to be here and talk with you.
I'm glad. So Nick is the co-founder of Elomia. Elomia, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Is a very innovative tool. So Nick, before we get started, okay, I would like to play a little game with you. All right. Okay. So the game is called Scale It or Scrap It. Okay. So I'm going to give you 5 trends of startups. Okay. And you're going to tell me scale it or scrap it. Ready?
Okay.
All right. So first of all, AI-generated co-founders.
I'm gonna say scrap it for now. I really think you need a human co-founder at the moment. There's a lot that goes on in startups, and it's good to have someone to lean on and bounce ideas off.
Beautiful. Celebrity-voiced AI therapists.
I'm gonna scrap it again for now. I think maybe in the future, but also therapy is a pretty specific niche, and maybe you don't want to get advice from celebrity lookalikes in that field.
I agree with that. No code MVPs launched in a weekend.
Scale that to the moon. I think the no code tools have just opened up the opportunities for all people, kind of like me. I don't have a technical engineering background in code. Mechanical engineering is my background, but the ability just for people like me to not be limited by the skills in coding just opens up the door for everyone. So scale that for sure.
Beautiful. Getting extremely personal with coworkers.
Ooh, I'm right in the middle on that one. I think it depends on the relationship. I think getting personal way of like opening up and building a bond can actually be really beneficial in a working environment. That maybe the things to scale back are really serious topics that don't belong. So that's like a 50-50.
50-50. All right. Ping pong at work.
Yeah, in a break room, scale that. I think break rooms that have different activities are awesome. Again, kind of like the bonding piece and just to clean your mind out from whatever you're working on.
Beautiful. All righty. Thank you, Nick, for this quick insights. So let's start to talk about your journey. Okay. Yeah. So Elomia is a very specific niche. It's an AI. Well, why don't you tell us about that instead of me telling? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Elomia and your journey? How did you came from the idea to where you are right now?
Yeah. So Elomia, funny enough, we actually came up with the name via an AI name generator, and we didn't want it to be a word that existed, but something that sounded good. So that's the origin of the name. And then our company mission is really to increase access to mental health support for the whole world. And right now we're doing that by building AI specifically designed for mental health support. And so we started researching this back in 2019, so way before AI was really popular. And our first models were kind of this Frankenstein of different technologies that it allowed someone to have a text chat with our AI and just work through some of these concepts. And then obviously the advancements to AI have helped us as well. But the goal really is to provide additional access points. Not everyone is going to get access to a therapist for various reasons, for cost, for availability. They might not be in their town or their country, or stigma reasons. They're just not comfortable opening up about these topics to a human. So we really just want to give a new tool, a better tool for some of these instances in the hopes that it helps people on their journey.
Absolutely. So you might be getting this question a lot, but there's a lot of people taking therapy from ChatGPT. You know, and I see it is a little bit dangerous. So what is the difference between Elomia and getting advice from an DeepSeek, ChatGPT, or this other tools?
This question comes up a lot, and I think it's a really important one. And I think I'm hearing a lot, I think not just in the mental health space, but just AI in general, there's still some fear, there's still some stigma around it. And right now in its current form, it's not super intelligence. It's acting in the way it's designed. And so to kind of circle back to your question, ChatGPT is designed to give users the answer that they want, the answer they're looking for, and designed to get them to use the platform a lot. It's still, the goal of these companies is to build something that lots of users use and retain and pay for it. And those specific design criteria aren't always the best and usually actually not the best in a mental health context. So the difference just right from the core is how Elomia is designed compared to ChatGPT or any of these large language models that are kind of big commercial options. And so our design from the beginning is to create an effective conversation for topics around mental health and also to be safe for the user.
Absolutely.
And so just one example, an artifact of these large language models is, again, to give the user what they want, to be really warm and welcoming and almost reaffirm what the user is saying, because that feels good to a user. That's not always the best case, and that's not how our model is designed. So sometimes our model will push back, it will challenge, it will say the user's train of thought isn't the most helpful for what they're going through. So just as an example of one way it's different. But yeah, the core is just to actually be useful for mental health and the safety guardrails around.
Absolutely. And I believe, see, I think you're right about many things. Number one is mental health is so important. Not everyone talks about that. I think right now more and more we're hearing that that's important, but not everybody's talking about that. Nobody has the access to it. It's expensive, to have access to mental health professional. The free tools around, out there in the market, well, not free, but like ChatGPT and so on and so forth, are not clinically proven or guided. They're completely open. So there's a phenomenal need. So Nick, can you tell us when was the first time that you got the idea, and how did you come up with the idea that this was an important? You're talking about 2019. That's before ChatGPT was released. So how did you come about this idea of an AI experienced clinician?
Yeah. So I actually joined a year and a half ago. So in 2023, so a little later. The original team, however, has and my reasoning came from I saw what ChatGPT could do, and I was going through my own mental health journey, and I made the connection that hey, I think AI can really help in this field, and so that's when I started reaching out and learning and got involved with Elomia. But the team, when they got the idea back in 2019, the original team is actually from Ukraine, which is a pretty depressed country, and they have good access to mental health resources. But because there's such a great stigma, like way more than the US, around seeking support, no one does, no one talks about it. And the team kind of seeing this and knowing about technology, again, they were a little early, knowing that AI can work in some of these conversational ways, they wanted to give people that access point from the comfort of their own homes and not have to open themselves up to that stigma. And again, you can get a lot of work done potentially with that, or you might get comfortable enough to go and seek additional help.
Beautiful. So right now, Nick, where are you? You're in the journey with Elomia. Are you the start part, scaling, exiting? What part of the journey are you in right now?
We are definitely in the scaling part. And it's a really exciting time for Elomia. It's a really exciting time just for the industry, the AI in mental health industry. I say sometimes I wouldn't recommend it to a startup founder to try and break two stigmas at once. But here we are at Elomia trying to break the stigma around mental health that still exists and the stigma around AI and what it really is and what it can do. And so that's where we're at. Over the last 12 months, I say it's a really exciting time because we're starting to feel this shift where lots more people are talking about using AI in a mental health context and becoming more open to it. And there were a lot, more closed off, even just 12 months ago, even just 3 months ago. Different studies are coming out. We have a study coming out with the University of Pennsylvania. A lot of people are just becoming more open to AI helping in this context. And again, it doesn't have to provide care. It doesn't have to substitute for a therapist, but just allowing people another access point to a tool that can help them in their journey. Again, people are opening their minds. So in the next 12 months, kind of 2025, the end of 2025, 2026, I think it's going to become much more mainstream. And it's going to be a really, really exciting time. So yeah, we're scaling with different verticals, with individuals as well, being able to use our apps. It's been really fun.
Now you say that you don't recommend that. This is very interesting to me. You say that you don't recommend people to break two stigmas at once. So can you share with us what are the challenges that you face in trying to break two stigmas?
Yeah. So, I mean, any kind of, I will say SaaS startup journey, when you're technically creating a market, is going to be very difficult. So you've got incumbents in the market that are making money, they have businesses. What you're doing can potentially disrupt their status quo, so they have incentives to not be open to it. It's also never been done before, so there's no path. There's maybe not a clear business model in different cases. You kind of have to uncover that. And so when I talk about stigmas and how it's difficult, it's just there's added, and there's stigmas in any market, but it's just you have to change the status quo. And the more things that need to be changed, the more ideas that need to be changed in people's minds, the harder it is. And again, it's not impossible, but just there's more education, there's more proving yourself over time with your product and the way you're talking about it in the market and the conversations you're having people that you will need to have to make the same progress
Right.
with less
Right,
stigma.
right. Now, in this journey, so whenever we're starting up something,
Yeah.
it's always challenging, it's always demanding, it always takes a lot of resources. So there's like, you need to juggle like 10,000 variables at once.
Yeah.
In your particular case, where have been the most important pain points right now that you could talk about? Are they like financial? Are they technical? Are they marketing and scaling? Are they mindset in your team? So what are the most important challenges that you face from all these areas that you need to juggle right now?
Yeah, I think it's also interesting to know that it changes. It's changed over the course of the 6 years that we've been working on this. So at the beginning, the biggest challenge was on the technical side. So in 2019, like I said, it was a Frankenstein of different technologies and models to get something that kind of worked, and it still didn't really work quite well. And so then you build a little more, you improve the product, technology improves, kind of all these models come out, ChatGPT comes out, and then it becomes even more compelling. And then it's less about technical. I'd say right now it's less about technical. The AI is there, the AI is good. That's not holding us back. I think right now it is a little bit of the market that's holding us back and finding exactly what the right place is and how do you build a sustainable business around AI and mental health and what does that look like? So it's really positioning and then building partnerships, I think are the limiting factors right now. And then it kind of wraps into the stigma in people's minds and openness to what we're doing. Yeah, the technology is there, which is the hard part.
Right. Now in these challenges, it is tough to get focused. So in order to stay on path, there usually has to be a personal motivator. So may I ask, Nick, why is this business personally important to you? I mean, you've talked about, the importance of the challenges, based in Ukraine,
Yeah.
2019, it was when the pandemic hit. So absolutely, I can see the business need for mental health companionship and support and so on and so forth. So that is outside, but why
Yeah.
is this journey personally important to you?
I like to say I've had a few different careers already. So I grew up in Virginia, just for some color. Went to school in Michigan, studied engineering, mechanical engineering, and then went to work for Shell Oil as a mechanical engineer right after school. And saw like the next 40 years of my life and wasn't super excited. And I think that's when my mental health journey really started. And I was trying to figure out, what am I doing? What do I want to do for the 10 hours a day, 40 hours a week that I work and I work through different things on, do I want to start a company? Am I going to be happy at a job? What is life? What does all this mean? And so again, I went through different iterations. I've had different careers, but that through line of my mental health and figuring out what motivates me, what am I really trying to do on earth? I think it's all come together with working on Elomia. And again, working on my mental health, I've seen how much of a positive effect it's had on me and my ability to move through the world, my ability to interact with different people, have relationships from, my parents, my sister, to romantic relationships, to friendships. They've only gotten better as I've learned more about myself and other people. And the ability to give someone that gift through our tool or through AR, through the things that our company will provide, that's what really motivates me now currently. And that's the big one. And then I get these added benefits if I get to learn about cutting edge AI technology and I get to talk to amazing people like you and all our clients on calls. And so it all just fits really well for where I'm at currently. But yeah, it all comes from those personal reasons of like.
So what do you personally do on your mental health space? How do you keep, because again, I mean, everybody, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, not entrepreneur, whatever. Everybody needs to focus on their mental health.
Yeah.
What do you do to stay sharp, to stay focused, to stay alive and motivated?
Yeah, the big pillars. And I'm not someone that tries to optimize my morning routine every day and all those little things. I think it's all great. I try and focus on big pillars. And so the ones for me are I need to stay active. I need to keep my body moving. That's just something that's always been important to me. So go to the gym 4 times a week. I'm walking around my neighborhood, going to the beach. I like to play sports, volleyball, surf, golf. Whatever I can do to keep my body moving is something that's really important to me for my mental health. And then the other big pillar, relationships. So friendships, relationships with my family, being able to go out and do activities. And sometimes they kind of mesh. Sometimes I'm doing these athletic activities with people, but having close relationships and being able to talk about different things that are going on, support them, allow them to support me. And that's another thing that's sometimes hard for men, to allow other people to offer them help and guidance. But those are the two pillars: just staying active and being around people.
Absolutely, because see, I completely agree with you. There are so many things, so many of us that at some point in time focus on the professional side, right? And we make it 100% or 90% of our journeys. Everybody in the professional side is bound to fail at some point in time, right? Or get frustrated at some point in time. So the importance of building all the relevant pillars around it, right? Relationships, body, financial. So if you have all other pillars to support you when one of them is failing, then it's going to be easier for you to have more success than if you focus on one pillar alone. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to go to a next section, Nick. This section is called Mirror, Mirror.
All right.
And what that is what question, let's say for a minute, you are the interviewer in this podcast. So what question would you ask yourself that you wish that people asked you, but they never do, or that you think that would be absolutely insightful? What question would you ask yourself?
About myself personally or about the business?
You pick.
Whatever. I think you might have already asked it, but I think it's the important question of why are you doing this? Recently, I've been posting more on LinkedIn just to get the word out, just to have conversations. And every once in a while, not every once in a while, I feel like 50-50 people that support what we're doing, AI mental health, and people that have issues with it for different reasons. And one of the issues that comes up somewhat frequently is that we're just doing this to make a dollar and make profit. And while I do think that's an exciting piece of building a business, meaning you can build something big, meaning the more money you can make, the more people you can touch, we're really not doing this with that being our main motivator. And I think that's the one that like kind of hits more than most when I hear it. And so I like when people ask me, why are we doing this? Because I really do believe everyone on this project, we're not making a ton of money on it right now. We've been doing this, some of us, since 2019, and it hasn't had $1 billion exit yet. We're really doing this to help people. And so I want more people to know that and actually believe it. Like, I can say it, but like I really want them to believe it. So I'm always trying to think of ways to get that point across. Because I want people to be on our team. Like, we really are the health, and to help the people, our users, is really our main goal. It's not to addict them to AI or our technology. And I just really want people to know that.
So for you, the contribution part is as important. Of course, we all need to be profitable. Without profitable, there's no business, right?
Exactly.
But for you, because to me, I believe there are 3 reasons why we do what we do, right? Number 1 is the reward. We can focus on the reward, the money, the success, the relevance, whatever. That would be the reward. The second is growth. I mean, how do I leverage what I'm doing to grow personally? The reason why I started this podcast is actually for that second reason, right? I want to grow personally, and there's no other way to grow than talking to people who are doing relevant things and learning from them, right? The third thing is for contribution. How do I really make this impact for the rest of the people? And if you can balance these 3, is way better, right? So I believe that's what you're currently doing. So congratulations on that, Nick. Now,
Appreciate it.
Let me jump to the next quick section. And this is a quick lightning round. So what is your favorite book?
Ooh, pasta.
Pasta. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I'm half Italian. My grandma, she just passed, but she lived to 104. She would always cook amazing Italian pasta and food for us. So it's my favorite.
Beautiful. Your most important habit. I think you already said it, but if you were to choose your most important habit.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna switch another one for my mental health that maybe is just as big as the other pillars, is sleep. I'm big on sleep. I need 8 hours a night. And when I don't get it, I will take naps during the day. Yeah, sleep, my favorite habit.
Excellent. Beautiful. Favorite app, AI, or SaaS tool?
There's so many. I think I've been really impressed with the AI no-code tools. I don't use them all the time, but of what they've unlocked in me, and just my limit is now my creativity, which I've always thought is pretty good, is just really cool.
Which one specific is your favorite one?
Cursor's really good. Lovable is really good.
Okay, Lovable. Okay, never tried that. What do you like about it?
Again, when I first used it, it felt like a superpower where I was always held back by not being able to write code and set up software applications, but now I can just talk and it'll turn them in and I can edit. It's like working with a developer that I can just prompt and they'll make the changes for me. And then I get something that's actually like the vision that I had in my head that people can use. That's like like I said, that felt like a superpower.
Beautiful. My last question for you, Nick, okay, is again, this podcast, and I'm always trying for people to find at least one golden nugget in each interview. We've gotten a few so far. But I want you to go deep in one important thing, okay? There are many people trying to launch or scale their current platforms, their ideas, so on and so forth. So what has been the greatest mistake that you've made throughout this journey, okay, that you would like to convey to other entrepreneurs so that they can maybe not avoid it all, but maybe learn from them? Because this life is so short that we can learn from our mistakes, but we can learn more from other people's mistakes. So what do you think has been the greatest mistake so far throughout this journey?
I'm laughing because I'm not a favorite. I don't have favorites. I'm also not like the biggest kind of. It's around the same theme. I feel like there's so many mistakes that kind of shape it. But for someone starting out, I think there's like two, and we didn't even get into all the little projects and, SaaS companies that I tried to start and failed and blew up and whatever. I think there's two big ones. So one is just launch it, get it out, get someone testing it, talk to people, talk to users. You need to do that as soon as possible to get that feedback if you're actually trying to build something that people love. And to build a company that's sustainable, a big business, you have to build something that people really get value from and love. I'll drop a couple again because I don't have the number one, but the one is you need to stick with something. So I've changed a lot and you learn things, but to actually build something that's real and can scale, you will have to stick with something through the hard times and not kind of run into shiny object syndrome and switch a whole lot. And so looking back in the past, I think some products and projects that I had worked on could have been successful if we stuck with them longer. And that's one piece. And then kind of the other counter to that is why are you switching? Why did we switch when things weren't working instead of sticking with it? And I think that kind of comes down to the passion piece or the why you're doing something. And so if you can work on the hot new thing, but maybe you're not as excited about the customers you're serving or the problem you're solving, that's maybe not the direction I would recommend versus going towards something that you really have a personal reason for wanting that thing to exist in the world. Because sometimes that is, maybe not sometimes, a lot of the time, that's really the thing that's going to get you through the dips in revenue or the 6 months where nothing's working and it feels like you're pushing this boulder up a hill so you can persevere and finally get to the other side. Absolutely. Where it starts to hit
now,
success.
Let me push a little bit in that regard. I want to push a little bit because what I'm looking for, rather than an advice for the people, is if you can give us a concrete example of one of these things, how did, what was your project you're doing when you switched ideas, or one of very concrete example or story that you have where you can call it a failure or a learning, whatever you want to call it, but that really gave you something very relevant for the future.
Yeah, I'll tell you about one project we worked on. We called it Pilot, and it was the ability for customer and product oriented teams to share feedback about the product within the team. And you could take screenshots, annotate on it, then pass it to your developers. They could pass it to the designers. It was kind of a hub like that. And we had a team on it. They were using it and we didn't see it blow up overnight. And so we kind of lost interest on it when we should have talked to them a little more, tried to add a few more users, really committed to that idea for an extended period of time to see what we could have got out of it. And again, we stopped working on it. I think 6 months or a year later, we saw a product come out and become very successful that was doing exactly what we were doing, 6 months ago. And so it taught me that it's not going to be easy all the time, and you might need to work on things and put a couple iterations in. But over time, as you do those iterations, you'll eventually learn enough to make something that's really valuable if you stick with it. So you can't give up too soon. And it's unlikely that it's going to work the first try. It's more likely that it's going to take iterations and you're going to fail a bunch, even on the same idea before it clicks.
Beautiful. So summarizing it is, if you have an idea, what you said is build it quickly, you're in favor of overnight MVPs. Put it out there, talk to people ASAP, get feedback, stick with it, and make it work. But only if you're passionate. And I love this, and I actually wrote this down. And for me, I think this was the golden nugget for today's conversation for me. I hope our listeners get a few more, but for me, it's, are you passionate about the customers you're serving, right? I mean, that was like to blowing up my mind, because that is a critical question to understand if you have to stick with the product or even continue on the journey. Because there are many other ways to go around it, right? You can sell it, you can close it, you can do whatever you want, but are you passionate about the customers you're serving? And if not, find them,
Sure.
right? Try to find them.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. This has been a phenomenal conversation, Nick. I want to say just as a quick note that this podcast, Start, Scale, Exit, is sponsored by Synthesis. Synthesis is your technological partner if you want to start an MVP, you want to scale your current project, or maybe simply you want to hire some developers to boost your development team. Talk to us. Synthesis might be the right place for you. Nick, thank you so much for your key insights today. This has been a phenomenal conversation. We talked about mental health. We talked about how AI can impact the future generations. We talked about how to build a product, scale it fast, how to make mistakes, how to avoid them. And this has been a phenomenal conversation and journey. Is there any, or are there any closing statements that you would like to give our audience before we close this out?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate the conversation as well. It was really fun to talk to you. I think if you're working on anything, or if you want to work on something, you're kind of just waiting for a sign. Take this as your sign to just get started, build something, talk to one potential user, just make that first move on it, and it'll kind of snowball.
Beautiful. Nick, how can you, if someone wants to reach out to you, is there any way that they can get in touch with you, or get to use the Elomia platform?
Yes, yeah. To reach me, it's just Nick, Nick, at elomia.com, elomia.com. And you can also go to the site to get access to our product, our mobile apps, or search Elomia in the App Store.
Beautiful, beautiful. Nick, it was a pleasure to talk to you today. And for all our Scalenauts, we look forward to seeing you in the future episodes. Write down your golden nuggets. Act on the golden nuggets that you got from today. Okay, don't just keep them in your mind. Act on them, because that way you're going to be much more successful. Nick, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Ivan.
Take care. Bye-bye.